Hello, this is James St. James, and in this episode we're going to talk about the 3 important viewpoints on the human body.
Let's learn about the functional anatomy of the human body from a healer perspective so that we can reverse engineer intuitive healing so that we can re-engineer our body and mind to think and perform how we want.
The human body is incredibly intricate, with countless structures working together and carry out processes that keep us alive and as healthy as possible. Fortunately, we can understand most of what we need by simply looking at the human body from only 3 perspectives. The body can only be analyzed in terms of electrical, chemical, and mechanical states and processes. Doing this helps us to create a framework to use as we work to repair and heal whatever specific unique damage that we have encountered. Let's talk about the body from each of these points of view so that we can have a better understanding of what is happening on the inside, so that ultimately we were able to create better and more adaptive strategies to fix it. First, let's take a look at the roles that electricity plays in the body. Surprisingly, although you may have never noticed it, electricity is used in every single cell and tissue and structure in the body. Here are the 7 ways by which electricity flows through the body. Neurons, which are the body's main signal-carrying cells for things like motor function, sensation, and thinking, maintain an electrolytic balance to transmit electrical impulses from each neuron to the next. Nerves then carry those electrical signals between the various neuronal processing centers of the body to nerve endings located around the corresponding tissues. This allows our brain to sense what state the tissue is in, whether it's sore or damaged, to help us better articulate recovery efforts while avoiding causing further damage. Our bodies can also use this to control blood flow and tension within muscular tissue, which can then be used to stretch and manipulate the surrounding fascia as well. The cells of the organs create electricity and produce electrical impulses that flow through the fascial matrix in ways that we experience as emotions. This is important when we want to identify weak organs and rehabilitate our emotional capacity, things that we'll be covering in later videos. This fascial structure, which you can think of as being a web made of collagen that envelopes mechanical structures such as bones, muscles, and organs, is usually innervated by nerve endings that both sense the movement of the fascia and can send electrical impulses through the fascia. Fascia also emits electromagnetic waves that help to coordinate the position and function of the cells that it wraps. It's very important to understand how the electricity in our body, if off balance, can disturb or damage tissue cells. This is especially common in areas with high electrical activity, such as the body's 13 electrical channels, also referred to as meridians in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. The next 3 points I want to bring up are not so important for the healing process, but I thought they'd be still worth mentioning. Cells also produce electromagnetic waves that help nearby cells perform coordinated cellular processes. The fascia is piezoelectric, meaning that it uses force and movement to generate electricity that passes through its wire-like fibers. Electricity flowing through the heart is also emitted through the pericardium, which acts not only as a Faraday cage protecting the heart, but which also can transmit signals and create electromagnetic fields that has been studied by research centers such as HeartMath. The pericardial electrical flow is extremely fascinating and might be involved in what we previously thought of as intuitive or even supernatural abilities. By understanding these 7 roles that electricity plays in the body, we can gain a few points of reference that will help us trace the roots of the issues in our body and help us create personalized therapy routines. Next, let's look at the body from a chemical viewpoint to better understand the reactions in the body that govern the physiology and the molecular steps that it takes to sustain and to heal. The body uses various chemicals including proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, minerals, water, and even DNA to create physiological processes. These processes are essentially sequences of chemical reactions that usually result in producing or eliminating chemicals so that the body can function, as well as byproducts or waste such as the chemical urea produced by the muscle cells after exercise. Temperature changes and electrical charges, which I covered a moment ago, are also commonly produced. When we do things like eating food, consuming drugs, or even just breathing in air, the chemical constitution of our body changes. Cells function in such a way that the chemical interactions necessary for proper function are to be tightly regulated and maintained. This means that if a certain chemical is scarce or overabundant, Or if a foreign chemical is present that shouldn't be in the body, the cells may stop working right or even die. The same is true for every body cell individually and for the body as a whole, as it requires a very delicate balance of the right chemicals in the right places at the right times in order to maintain structural stability and metabolic performance. See, every second chemicals are moving in and out of our bodies, and that flow will determine how well our cells and resultantly our body and mind will function. The term consumption describes the chemicals going into the body. You may have already heard that eating healthy is important, but why? Because when we put food in our system, there's a very complex chain reaction of events that happens. Mainly, our digestive system breaking the food apart into its chemical constituents. And many chemicals require specific reactions to take place, which themselves require precise temperatures, acidity levels, molecular polarity, and a local surplus of necessary additives such as enzymes. This all happens through three main digestive organs: the stomach, the small intestine, and the large intestine, with the help of the three assistive digestive organs, which are the gallbladder, the liver, and the spleen. The health of the digestive organs will determine the body's ability to constitute itself with the right chemicals it needs to function optimally. This is important to note because a lot of people think that consuming the right nutrition is what's important, and oftentimes they skip the other half of the equation, which most likely is a much more significant factor when it comes to nourishing the body. So this is why we should focus more on the performance of the digestive organs rather than what we're putting in our mouths. Because of the way that the chemicals are broken down from our environment and turned into useful building blocks for our body to use, the performance of our digestive organs actually plays a vital role in our overall health. Other primary ways we consume are through our skin and by breathing through our lungs. For this reason, it's important to be careful to avoid environments contaminated with harmful chemicals such as accidentally spilling gasoline on your hands when you're filling up your car, or chemicals that leach from the paint of the walls of your house, or even spraying pesticides on the food that we eventually consume. We can't avoid consuming every toxin, but luckily the human body comes pre-equipped with the perfect solution. The term detox describes chemicals that are being removed from the body by natural metabolic functions. So when we accidentally consume chemicals that the body can't use, which we call toxins, the body will be forced to remove them in order to keep working, which is why detoxification is so critical. See, detoxing isn't just a program or a box of supplements that you see at the store, but rather it is a constant and comprehensive multitude of physiological processes carried out in every single cell in the body. If we lack performance in detoxing, then our bodies will accumulate toxins, and this can lead to a wide variety of illnesses, all the way from cancer to obesity. So, needless to say, removing toxins is essential for maintaining foundational physiological health. This is why detoxing is one of the key chemical processes of the human body. Some examples of your body removing toxins that you may have noticed would be exhalation of breath, peeing, pooping, spitting out phlegm, or even sweating. These actions are some of the main ways by which the body removes chemicals that hinder or even prevent important physiological functions. The main organs involved in toxin removal are the liver, the large intestine, the kidneys, and additionally, the skin. So the health of these organs will be the main determinant factor regarding the amount of toxic buildup that is likely in your body. By understanding the role of chemicals in our body, we can modify what we consume, and we can detoxify ourselves to ensure that our bodies are metabolically functioning at their best. When we maintain a chemical constitution that helps enable our physiological processes to work cleanly and efficiently, we may gain strength, flexibility, energy, be more injury resistant, and even unlock more of our intelligence and clarity of mind, which are all going to be useful tools when healing our bodies and recovering our mental health. Next, let's go over how the mechanical viewpoint of the human body is shaped and which aspects of that viewpoint are important for healing. The mechanical elements of the human body are the bones, the ligaments, the tendons, the muscles, the skin, the vessels, and especially the fascial structure. The fascial structure is what determines the shape and position of all things in our body, except for bones, nails, hair, gland, and fluids like blood and phlegm. By changing the fascia, it will change the way bodily fluids flow to every single tissue and organ. Tissue and organ health is mainly determined by flow, and flow is mainly determined by structure. We previously mentioned how the chemical constituents going in and out of a tissue, as well as impeded nerve or electrical flow, can affect metabolic performance. Now let's talk about the state of which the mechanical structures can affect performance. On a cellular level, when the structure of the fascia is damaged around the tissue cells, the blood vessels, the lymph vessels, water flow, and nerve flow cannot deliver the necessary nutrients, oxygen, and signals that allow the cells to function properly. On an anatomical level, when the mechanical stress of the fascia creates tension or compression on the nerves and blood vessels, it will also make it difficult for the various tissues of the body to get what they need to function. This is extremely important when it comes to the fascia around the spine as it relates to the organs, because the organs get their nerve flow and blood flow mainly from the vessels along the spine. When tension on the fascia causes disruptions in the spinal column, an example being that of a subluxation, a term often used in chiropractic, the nerve flow and blood flow to that organ will be decreased, leading to poor organ function. The other way that an organ can lose functionality is when the fascial bands that go from the hips to the shoulders and around the torso become tightened from degradation. It will literally create tension on the organs, making them tear apart slowly. And this will also hinder organ function, which can lead to systemic issues and illnesses. When it comes to structural damage, the organs are the most important to protect. But really, everywhere throughout the body is also important to maintain for proper mobility and flexibility, which we're going to need to engage in healthy exercise patterns that we're going to need later on in the healing process. The last thing to note about mechanics is that the body mechanics and the way forces work in equal and opposites causes specific stress patterns that can be traced, usually in a curvilinear fashion. This might be a large chunk to swallow right now, but no worries. We are going to cover this in great detail in future episodes, but I bring this up because this is one of the most significant aspects of the mechanics of the human body, especially when it comes to the healing process. And we will be focusing a lot on this topic from here on out, as tracing mechanical stress patterns is the most effective way to resolve chronic stress and other underlying issues. Using the electrical, chemical, and mechanical viewpoints for analyzing the body offers us many benefits. By knowing the roles and processes associated with each, we can start seeing how these three processes work together simultaneously. This understanding is fundamental to creating strategies to effectively heal our bodies and building them up once again to a state of greater health. In regards to healing, an important thing to note is that these three different aspects of the human body must be well coordinated with one another. It is physically impossible to change one without the others changing too. So, if you take a drug, for example, the electrical output of the affected cells will change, which will cause mechanical changes such as relaxation or rebalancing of the physical tension as well. Keep in mind that all the information I share should be rather self-evident, meaning that you don't have to believe anything I say. So just try it out for yourself and experience it. Depending on the state of your body and unique circumstances, certain aspects may be more apparent while others may be less obvious at first. So here's a test that you can try. Drink a coffee and check as to whether your posture changes. Notice whether you feel a sense of electricity in your body. Now, this is different from being the feeling of energetic. Try instead to sense whether you seem stronger when you contract your muscles. The reason why this might work is that when you contract your muscles under the influence of caffeine, that you're going to have an increased rate of nerve firing, making it seem that your muscles are actually stronger than they are. So if you want, test this theory out for yourself and leave a comment below to share your experience. For the same reason, if we're trying to solve a problem in the body and we cannot solve it in a mechanical way through something like surgery or massage alone, then we can involve other modalities like electrical stimulation or light therapy or make use of a chemical such as a drug. Or even use all three to cover all bases as you discover regimens that work well together for you. A mixed approach like this allows therapeutic strategies to be more flexible and adaptive to changes, which will be necessary as we work to restore our bodies back to perfect working condition. Hopefully this broadens your understanding of the electrical, chemical, and mechanical ways the body operates. And in the next episode, we're going to go over how the 6 elements affect the human body and how we can use them to re-engineer our health.
If you want to learn more about the body and mind, then feel free to check out the other videos in this channel or subscribe. And if you have a question about anything, then drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it. I'll see you in the next video.